Prodeus is a re-envisioning of Doom 2016, if it came out in 1996, made in Unity by a studio called Bounding Box Software and published by Humble Games. It had a pretty successful Kickstarter campaign, where it reached its goal in just 23 days. Bounding Box Software, consisting of Mike Völler and Jason Mojica, who met each other at Raven Software while working on a game called Singularity, decided to leave the industry and work on a project which would become Prodeus. Admittedly, a ballsy move in a time where there was no shortage of well-made retro shooters from other companies. With Andrew Hulshult, who is slowly becoming the Bobby Prince of the new era, behind the game's music, and Joshua O'Sullivan, also known as Dragonfly in the Doom modding scene, behind the level design, they had established a solid team. We currently got one episode in the main campaign, The Kingdom Between. You slip into the role of a rogue agent of Prodeus, an enigmatic god and the creator of all this mess. And your job is to put an end to all of this, including the creator. And how do we achieve this? By lots and lots of shooting. Keeping it real with the old school shooter genre, this game's plot is kept to a minimum and shooting to the maximum. Prodeus has 28 levels and a ton of secrets, but for some reason the devs thought it would be a good idea to put some secrets into areas you cannot reach without the double jump upgrade you unlock from the shop, which we will talk about when we get there. So going for a 100-person run from the start won't be an option. I would recommend starting the game on the hard difficulty. It seems like the perfect mix between a challenge and the most fun you can get. Your movement speed is, as you would expect, insanely high. The guns pack quite a punch and enemies die fairly easy, even though the lower tier enemies can get a bit spongy at times. Weapons must be reloaded in this game, which did not bother me. It encouraged me to swap weapons more often, so everything became more frantic. Don't use the weapons wheel though, if you can, call it a wheel, that is. It destroys the game's flow by completely stopping the time and pulling you out of the action. Instead, bind your guns in the options menu to your desire. You will have a better time that way. Let's cut right to the chase. Sacrum is our first real level. I'm not counting the intro where you have no choice but to run away like a bitch. We start off the classic way, a pistol and rather slow gameplay. The first few levels won't be really challenging, but don't worry, this will change in a bit. And let's hope you get the hang of the weapon juggling, because the enemies want your ass. Talking about the enemies, it's no secret that most of them are heavily inspired by Doom, which makes it easier to plan your moves. There are 4 categories. Zombies, your typical hit scanners, which come in 4 flavors. Shotgun, minigun, sniper and hazmats. And yeah, there are those juice bags just existing so you don't run out of blood while painting the room red. Chaos, which consists of your projectile monsters like imps and cacodemons. Pro Chaos, which are the same monsters as Chaos but got converted to Team Blue. They are faster and hit harder. And Prodeans, let's call them mini-bosses with some abilities. We've got Cryomancers, which has the biggest health pool and some ice attacks. Harbingers, the ones responsible for turning Chaos into Pro Chaos. And Phantoms, who can turn itself and any other Prodean or Pro Chaos invisible. Something worth mentioning, Chaos and Pro Chaos will fight each other, giving you enough time to reload your arsenal. Back to the pistol. The pistol does a good job at being a pistol, but you will forget about it as soon as you get your hands on the shotgun. Now we are talking. Meaty sound, takes care of business, and like all the weapons in Prodeus, has a secondary fire mode, which uses incendiary rounds. Setting enemies on fire is not really that useful, but charging up your shots makes the shotgun incredibly accurate over long distances, which is a viable tactic. As you probably already saw, the amount of gore in this game is cranked up to 11. Your shots will leave a huge red mist behind, and while the corpses of the enemies disappear after a while, the bloodstains won't. You will always know which room you have already cleared. The second gun you find in the first level are the Shredders, akimbo SMGs, which can be unloaded in a matter of seconds, or you can only use one of them and be more accurate. They share the same ammo pool, so even if you only shoot through one weapon, both must be reloaded, which is bullshit. Inside every level, there are ore fragments you can collect to buy new weapons or upgrades inside the shop. Prodeus features 3 shop levels where you can learn the in and outs of a weapon and spend your ore fragments on new weapons and upgrades. The progression inside the shop is shared between all the other shops. Available from the start is the Super Shotgun, a quad barrel shotgun which will obliterate pretty much everything. leaving behind a red bloodstain where the enemy was. And the plasma rifle, with a nice twist. The secondary fire mode shoots a beacon, which sticks to walls and enemies. As long as the beacon is active, your follow-up shots will home in at the target, allowing you to curve your plasma balls and hitting a target while you are behind cover. Buying both weapons will unlock the tier 2 section in the shop, which gives you access to the double jump and dash upgrade. Both should be self-explanatory. Tier 3 contains the bandolier upgrade, the auto shotgun and the swarmer. And lastly, tier 4, with only one weapon at the moment, the mammoth. Mammoth? Doesn't matter. A revolver, which is the most powerful weapon you can obtain in the main campaign, as far as I know. Back to our first two choices. Listen, a quad barrel shotgun sounds amazing, right? But the plasma rifle is the better option here for two reasons. The levels are literally flooded with plasma ammo, and you don't have to share 30 mealy shotgun shells between two guns. 4 barrels, man. Can you believe it? Speaking about barrels, let's dive into the guns in Prodeus. In the current main campaign, we got 13 guns, and almost all of them are useful from start to finish. Ammo can get scarce at times, but honestly it won't bother you, since every gun does a good job in turning enemies into gyps. Even two weapons from the same category, sharing the same ammo, will have their own roles, which will give you an advantage if you take your time and experiment a bit. Just as an example, the rocket launcher and the grenade launcher. The rocket launcher does a great job in dealing with higher quantities of enemies, or with strong enemies in general, and gives you the ability to detonate the rocket mid-air if need be, but it has a reload animation after every shot. The grenade launcher does not, so you can spam 6 grenades into a single enemy and it's game over for him. And you didn't even break a sweat. Same goes with the minigun and the SMGs, and the 3 shotguns you have in your arsenal. You decide how you tackle the next encounter, and you decide when it's time to change your playstyle. The game gives you all the freedom to express your own game style without punishing you. Let's talk about the maps. The maps in Prodeus are generally big and offer verticality, which complements the fights. You have everything here, from floating bloaters to crawlers who close in really quick on you, and in my opinion, this is what justifies the reloading mechanic in a retro shooter like Prodeus. You will have to switch weapons constantly, because not every monster needs a rocket launcher. But this won't be a problem, since the maps are open enough for evading enemies just long enough to be able to reload and take care of a more pressing problem like a hit scanner or a bigger enemy. The level design is also one of the better ones I have seen so far. There are no indicators or directions given to you except for the exit. But you won't need it. It's an always lead to Rome design. No matter how chaotic the fight was, you will always go in the right direction. And if you really should lose your bearings, just take a look at the room. If you've been there, chances are it's painted in blood from floor to ceiling. Even in the later levels, where you reach the alien spaceship, I guess, where the whole map shifts and kinda moves, I never felt the need of using the auto map. Everything felt natural. By the way, the auto map is amazing. Just look at it. What else can you wish from an auto map? The early levels lack a bit in variety, but I kinda like it. Going from one level to another feels more like an intermission with a straight continuation after catching your breath. And for me, the flow of the whole game never really stalled thanks to it. I can start the next level and be thrown into action immediately, or I can decide to take a break and know the chaos will continue as soon as I start playing again. Prodeus also features a level editor, which has been an advertised feature since the Kickstarter campaign. It is filled with community-made maps, which are mostly really well made, but since I'm better at playing the actual game instead of designing, I'll stick to the shooting part. Alright, let's discuss Nexus Points. Nexus Points are basically checkpoints, where you can respawn if you die, but the catch is, progression does not reset after respawning. So it takes away the challenge of the whole fight, since it doesn't really matter if you die or not. You will spawn again, and the enemies you already have killed stay dead. I see it as a weak point of this game. I mean, there are better ways to implement checkpoints, but for now, if you really want a challenge, you will have to restart the level and go through everything again, only to have another shot at the battle you messed up. The sound design in Prodeus is amazing. Every gun sounds heavy, impactful and very detailed. The sound that enemies make when they turn into gyps, the blood dripping from the ceiling, even the sound of the player just landing from a jump. Everything has weight to it. I love it. The graphics complement the sound in a perfect way. Everything looks so detailed and shiny, but still pixelated and old school. They nailed the look and feel of this game. I mean, look at the goddamn rain, for crying out loud. With the insane amount of gore and those graphics, every level will feel like a slasher movie where you play as the bad guy. I mean it. Just look at this level after everything is dead, paired with the dynamic soundtracks from Andrew Hulshult, which are very atmospheric and slow, but as soon as the fight starts, kicks up a few notches and leads the pace of the battle. Yeah, there's not a single bad thing I could say about the game's delivery.